It's now my great pleasure to introduce Jimmie Durham's project, our next participant, who unfortunately cannot be here today. We wish him a very fast recovery. Jimmie's work has been in many, many exhibitions, from the Whitney Biennale to the Venice Biennale to the Documenta, and he's had recently a big survey at the MUCA in Antwerpen. He's been part of our poetry marathon. He's not only a leading visual artist, but also a leading poet. His poems have just been gathered in a wonderful book, the collected poems of Jimmie Durham. And actually, for the marathon, he has produced a poster that reads, "We are part of the life on Earth, and it is part of us, our family." You can find this poster at the back of the room, together with all the other mobile elements of the marathon, as mentioned earlier. Jimmie has also sent us a text he specially wrote, which will be read here by our public programs curator, Lucia Pietriousti, who is also one of the co-curators of the marathon. A very, very warm welcome to Jimmie Durham and Lucia Pietriousti.
I will talk first about the strange phenomenon called anthropomorphism, when people imagine that animals are like humans. It is a stupid way to think. Scientists are the most guilty of this stupidity. There was a horse in Germany years ago called Clever Hans. When asked to count to 7, Hans could tap his hoof 7 times. He could perform this trick with any number, even if the person asking was a stranger. A scientist put a blindfold on the horse. He was then unable to perform the trick. This was meant to prove that the horse was not really smart enough to count. What it really proved was how unscientific the scientist was. Listen, it would not be intelligent for a horse to count. Instead of counting numbers, what the horse was actually doing was that he was reading human expression and body stance. Involuntary and unconscious human expressions and body stance, which would reveal unintentional approval at the correct number. Clever Hans was looking carefully at the most subtle changes of expression and body stance of the human asking the question, and knowing when to stop tapping. This shows high intelligence. It would be a valuable scientific study if scientists studied animal intelligence from species-specific ways. To use human ways as the standard for intelligence is simply anthropomorphic. It is against science. It hinders any study of animal intelligence. Now I will interrupt myself and talk about a more general stupidity. Every week, the Guardian newspaper prints an interview with some famous person. In an effort to bring the issue of extinction into more public awareness, one of the questions the Guardian asks is always, if you had the power, what would you bring back from extinction? No one has ever named a species of animal or plant. Usually, people say, my grandmother, or my father. The poster Lucia Pietriousti, Giles Round, and I designed is about how we humans are part of the general life on Earth. We are not separate. Most of us live by killing and consuming other animals. Vegetarians are not part of that, but they cannot live without other life of the Earth. I do not mean that other animals are our friends. Mostly, they are our victims. I mean, we are all the same family. There are many studies of humans. People who work in offices where there are potted plants are happier than those who work in offices with no plants, studies show. People in hospitals recuperate better if they receive visits from dogs or cats, other studies show. This indicates that we function better when our environments are inclusive instead of attempting to exclude the world. Not me, but it seems everyone else loves zoos. People want to see other animals. We all like to go to the botanical gardens and see the plants. Now, what we like to call the natural world is disappearing. Many insects are disappearing because genetically modified crops leave no rooms for the plants they depend upon. That means many world plants disappear because they are not pollinated by insects. Wherever we look, the world is being destroyed. Our world is being destroyed by our own hysterically exaggerated consumption of everything. The immediate future looks like plants and animals only in artificially controlled prisons of different sorts. Let us imagine, though, a longer future, one that goes beyond the tragedies that are certainly in the near future. Let us imagine that we might now begin to act. Thousands of letters to elected officials every day for the next 10 years, for example. It is true that we seem unable to change or to take control in even the smallest ways, and this seems to add regularly to our alienation, to our malaise. Might we think now to start in hundreds of different ways to make pressure on elected and not elected officials for change, and many, many other ways of bringing these actions to public attention? The pressure groups that exist and the actions that are taken, admirable as they are, seem to be achieving almost nothing in this time. When we are forced to act, we will act quite badly. I think it takes something so much more than what is being done to make even the smallest impression, much less a change of policy and action. Jimmie Durham, Granaro, Sila, Calabria, October 12, 2014.